Okay, chemists, this is what we went over today. I'm only going to discuss the mole house in this video because I want you to conceptually have this down before we move on. What I want you to understand about the mole house is that it gives us a way to move in between different units. Now, this is foreign because of the units we're using. We just introduced moles today. We've only recently been talking about the particles, molecules and formula units, and we've only introduced ourselves to atoms a couple weeks ago. But if you think of something like, if I had 3 days, so if I take that chunk of time, 3 days, you can convert days into hours, right? Okay, 3 days, there are 24 hours in a day, therefore it's 72 hours. Okay, well you could convert hours into minutes by taking that 72 times 60, that would give you minutes, and then you could take those 60 minutes times 60 seconds, and so you can figure out how many seconds are in 3 days. You're just using little conversions. That's all this is, using conversions, and we want to be pros at it. So first off, know that the mole house is a way to convert. And so we have 4 different rooms here. One of them is grams, one is moles. This one is kind of all-encompassingly. There are like 3 people staying in this room. Particles, molecules, and formula units. And this one is atoms. Now we have these passageways in between that allows us to move from one to the other. But we have to know the little secret code, if you will, to move from one to another. And that's just our conversion factor. So, if I want to move from grams to moles, remember, we learned a new way to measure mass today. We learned molar mass. So on our periodic tables, we used to say that it's 16.0 AMUs for an atom of oxygen. Not anymore. Now it's 16.0 grams per mole of oxygen. Okay? So that molar mass, that's the first passageway between these two. Molar mass, which means our grams per mole. So grams per mole can be flipped upside down to be moles per gram. And we can move from one to another. Say if I had 32 grams of oxygen, and I know that there are 16 grams for every 1 mole. Well, 32 divided by 16 is 2, so that'd give me 2 moles of oxygen. Okay? Now, to pass from moles into this area, the particles, molecules, and formula units, we need that other new thing we learned today, Avogadro's number, which is really a ratio. It says that there are 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules for every 1 mole. So if I know the amount of moles, say it's 2 moles, well then it's 2 times 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules. And that will tell me how many molecules. If I know the molecules, I can get to moles. Let's not worry about numbers right now. Just know that you can go from molecules to moles or from moles to molecules using Avogadro's number. Now, we can also go from this formula units, molecules, particles area into atoms to figure out how many individual atoms we have. We just have to make sure we use the correct formula. So what I mean by that is, if I want to know how many hydrogen atoms are in 10 times 10 to the 23rd molecules of water, I need to know that the correct formula for water would be H2O, and that there's 2 hydrogen in every 1 molecule of water. So knowing the correct formula will allow me to go from atoms to particles, or from particles to atoms. That's all that this mole house is. A way to convert from one dimension, if you will, to another. A way to convert from grams to moles, from moles to formula units, from formula units to atoms, and vice versa. So we can move any way we want with these, as long as we keep these 3 passageways in mind. So that's the main takeaway from this lesson. These 3 conversion factors, they're all ratios. Each one's a ratio, which we'll talk about more tomorrow. But get that down. Know that for tomorrow. Okay? We will practice our butts off, and we will be perfect, because that's what we do. Okay? So enjoy it, then take a break, and I will see you in the morning.